Hold up. Wait a minute.
This is Carla Renata, aka the Curvy Critic, and I shoot straight from the hip.
Yeah, you know I'm always shooting straight from the hip.
Let's take a trip around the curve. Hi everybody, how you doing? It's your girl Carla Renata, aka the Curvy Film Critic. I am back for another episode. Move my light. Here we go. I am back for another episode of the Curvy Critic with Carla Renata. If this is your first time joining me, give me a big thumbs up to let me know you are here. If you have come back for another time and you've been here before, welcome. It's good to see you. Insti-hoo, I have a lot to talk about, so I'm not going to waste any time because I did come on a few moments late. So let me I always talk about what I did the week before or whatever I was doing. And this was a pretty light week. I went to, so this is outside, this is from the window of inside the Ritz-Carlton and in Dana Point, and my god sister was celebrating her 50th birthday, so I joined her there to hang out. And then I want to tell you guys about this. So Jaws, with the 4th of July rolling around, we really want to hear about this, right? Not. Jaws is celebrating its 50th anniversary. I cannot believe it was 50 years ago that we saw Jaws in the theater. You can, if you've never, ever, ever seen Jaws, it is streaming on Peacock and only on Peacock right now. You might want to check it out. And for this episode, I'm going to talk about a couple of documentaries. I'm going to talk about Tell Me Everything, the Barbara Walters documentary. There's a documentary about the renowned chef NOBU. I'm also going to do this interview that I promised you guys last week with Ryan Coogler and Chinaka Hodge and two of the producers from Proximity that did Ironheart on Disney Plus. So I have an interview with them. I also have an interview with the cast of 40 Acres. But before I get into all of that, this is the end. Let me come back on camera. That's not the one I want. I want that one. So this is the end of Pride Month. It's the end of Black Music Month. And I just wanted to give you guys some things to think about. And I picked some of my favorite musical and Pride films to watch. You want to watch a film, it's called Paris is Burning. It is an excellent film. And it's one of the original documentaries that was done about Pride Month and the queer community and all of that. And you should really check it out. It is streaming anywhere where you can stream. I also wanted to tell you about, let me see, Purple Rain. Like, who doesn't want to watch Purple Rain? Prince and Purple Rain, y'all. You cannot end out Black Music Month without watching Purple Rain. Prince won the Academy Award for that film for music. So you got to check it out. You got to check out Jamie Foxx and Ray. That is also streaming, about the iconic blues artist, blues, jazz, R&B artist, Ray Charles. And of course, you have to go over to Netflix and check out the documentary, The Black Godfather, about the godfather of all powerful figures in the music industry, Mr. Clarence Avant. The Black Godfather came out in 2019. Purple Rain dropped in 1984. Ray dropped in 2004. And of course, my favorite musical movie is what? The 5 Heartbeats, y'all. You gotta check out The 5 Heartbeats. It is written, produced, and starring Robert Townsend, Michael Wright, Harry Lennox, Leon, and so many more people that you will recognize throughout the course of watching that film. So again, I just want you to check out these movies: The 5 Heartbeats, Ray, Purple Rain, The Black Godfather, and Paris is Burning. I also was over at Fox 11 LA last week talking about the Jeff Bezos wedding, and that is me and Alex Michelson. He's waving at them on the picture that we had in the back, and we had some giggles and things about that. If you have not seen that footage, you can go to any of my social media pages and catch that interview there with myself and Alex Michelson. Let's get into Barbara Walters' Tell Me Everything. But before we get into that, Actually, no, I'm gonna go ahead and get into Barbara Walters Tell Me Everything. So this documentary is streaming on Hulu, and Hulu, as we all know, is under the ABC umbrella. If you do not know who Barbara Walters is, let me enlighten you. Barbara Walters was like the original OG of broadcasting for women. She started out at the Today Show. She went from being like a weather girl at the Today Show to being like the bad mama jamma of ABC News. And she brought us 2020. She brought us those prolific Barbara Walters specials where she interviewed everybody from Anwar Sadat to Eddie Murphy. She was an excellent interviewer, and I realized throughout the course of my interviewing that I probably subconsciously stole some of her technique. She does this thing where she looks down while the guest is talking to make it look like she's really deep in thought about what they're saying. And sometimes she is, but it's mostly like a cheat sheet to see what her next question is. And she was notorious for having 200 questions on these big ass note cards. She had them all the time, and she was notorious for that. For that, she also had a very troubled childhood, which you would learn about, and she had a tumultuous relationship with her adopted daughter. It's a fascinating story. You might think you knew who Barbara Walters was, but you really don't. Barbara Walters Tell Me Everything is streaming on Hulu right now. NOBU, which is streaming on Apple TV as of yesterday, not yesterday, 2 days ago. It is about the renowned culinary legend Nobuyuki Mas, and he has re-identified the way that we eat sushi. The beginning of this, watching him plate his creations, will make you want to run to a sushi restaurant like yesterday. I was the every once in a while throughout the documentary, they would show him plating stuff. I'm like, it made me want to literally just stop the documentary and go get some sushi, and particularly go to Nobu. So then I looked up the prices. I'm like, might not be going to Nobu anytime soon, but I'm definitely gonna have to check it out. His way of plating his cuisines and curating his menu is heavily influenced by his time in Peru. He traveled all over the world to try to create a nice dining experience for everybody that comes to his restaurants. He has 55 restaurants worldwide. We learned some really personal things about him, mostly that he made sushi chic. Nobu made sushi chic. That's really hard to say. His wife Yoko supported him, worked with him, and not for him. That is very important to note and point out, because in the Japanese culture, especially old school Japanese women, they have been taught to be subservient. Yoko is none of that, honey. So and what's also important to note about this documentary is that he and Wolfgang Puck, who is one of the other famous chefs in the world, they are both immigrants, which brings me to this. Immigrants have helped to build this country. So I'm really confused as to why there's this attack on immigrants right now. But watch Nobu and support an immigrant. Watch the Wolfgang Puck documentary and support an immigrant. I'm just saying. I told y'all I think I told you documentaries are my kryptonite, and they are. I love me some documentaries. All right, so again, check out Nobu, which is on Apple TV Plus streaming, and check out Tell Me Everything, the Barbara Walters doc. I told y'all when I left last week that I had an interview coming up with Ryan Coogler and Chinaka Hodge, who Ryan executive produced Ironheart, Chinaka Hodge executive produced, directed, and wrote a few of the episodes. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get into this interview with them for you guys to listen and watch. And check, and Zoe and Sev, who are part of Proximity, which is Ryan's production company. Check out this interview with the team from Ironheart, which is streaming right now on Disney Plus. Let me first say I loved Ironheart so much. It was so much fun, and it was so cool to hear somebody that talks like me and my friends in the street. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, ma'am, I
I
do.
really like that. I was like, oh, she talking like me and my girls. It was all good in the hood. I was so excited for that. But what I like to know from both of you is, when was the first time you picked up a Marvel comic book? And if that wasn't the case, when was the first time you were turned on to the MCU? And we'll go with ladies first and start with Chinaka.
My first time picking up a Marvel comic book must have been I was 18. Um, and they were the first shop that I saw that had figurines too. Like it was that era where the pops first started coming up, the Funkos, or the generation that preceded it. And yeah, I remember when I was a kid growing up, I wasn't allowed to watch things on TV unless they had a black person or a woman in the lead role. And so I applied that to the comic books as well. I immediately went through and started trying to find um, anyone that looked like me. And in that era, there weren't. And so I remember when Eve, who was my good friend, told me about Ironheart. And this was before I knew I would ever be involved with the project. Just the feeling of overwhelming joy of just knowing there was going to be somebody who talked and sounded like me in the MCU, and code switches like me in the MCU. I think was really, really exciting.
My older cousin Jamon was a comic book fan. He's 7 years older than me, so he had all of the comics around his house. I would go over there. His mom would babysit me, my aunt Kathy, so I would pick his comic books up. And my dad is like a amateur cartoonist, so he would buy black owned comic books in Oakland all the time. He would have them around the house. There was one called Brother Man that he would have around the house, and he had all of the milestone books. My dad, he had like the All Static Shock and Icon and Young Bloods. So I was around him since like my earliest memories. I was around him.
Oh man, great question. And I mean, it goes back to Iron Man 1 for me. Like I I wrote my paper to get into film school on Iron Man 2. Like I've been a fan, I've been following since the beginning. And then when I was in college, I got into the comics and I realized how many great stories were untold in that vast, array of storytelling. So they had me right from the beginning.
I mean, for me, like the original exposure I had was X-Men, the animated series in the 90s when I was a kid, just watching the show that while it was animated and a cartoon, I could just tell it was dealing with themes and ideas that were so far above my head, but made me want to kind of aspire towards that. And then when the MCU came into full, mode basically with Iron Man, I was of course a fan. And then when my partner and good friend Ryan directed Black Panther, it blew my mind once again as far as like these movies can really deal with so many themes far above what you would imagine a comic book movie to deal with. So to be able to work on the show with Zoe and Kelsey and Brad and Kevin, everybody, it was a dream come true.
I want to talk a little bit about the casting, because the casting for this was it was so good. We get to see Anthony Ramos be like really kind of nasty. We see all these different flavors of Dominique. It's just so much going on. How long did it take to cast the film, and how did you land on Dominique and Anthony?
I mean, casting was a very extensive process. We have, in a lot of ways, especially when you have a heist crew, it's very particular to find people who will embody something unique and different, but yet still fit chemistry-wise on a team, not to mention the non-heist characters. So it was an extensive process, and we really found just the most incredible people to bring these characters to life. Dominique was a no-brainer from the beginning. We were all very aware of her because she had auditioned to play Shuri in Black Panther 1, and obviously, Proximity has worked with her many times over. So as soon as Ryan had the idea to put the character of Riri in Wakanda Forever, she was the first and only call that they made. And then Anthony, for us, he just embodied this character. I think people don't expect him to play a villain, but the beauty of this villain, he's kind of an anti-villain. He's very charming. He has to draw you in. You need to believe that Riri would work with him. And so in order to do that, we needed to find someone who had that sort of charismatic, warm demeanor, but could also play the teeth of the character and play the edge of the character. So I think they both were the only and perfect people for these parts.
You broke that all the way down, Zoe. Thank you so much. I was very excited. I'm like, okay, I gotta know about the casting because that's my jam. I also wanted to know in this little bit of time that I have left, Sev, how did you and Ryan began collabing quite some time ago, but can you tell us what you're gonna be working on next? Can you give a sister a scoop?
And I can tell you that we have at our company Proximity that I founded with Ryan and Zinzi Kugler, we have a docuseries coming out next month that has not yet been announced, but look out for a trailer on that very soon. We have another Marvel series called Eyes of Wakanda that will drop in August, which is an animated spin-off of Black Panther. And beyond that, we have so many fun things in development, whether they're movies, TV shows. One thing, if you want to get more Ryan and proximity, I certainly recommend people check out In Proximity, which is our podcast that will be dropping a special Ironheart episode, maybe in a week or two, you'll see, and a whole lot more later this year.
I love that. You guys want to clear up the misconception, because people are out in the streets thinking that Ironheart is a spinoff or an extension of Iron Man, and I know that that is not the case. Y'all want to handle that? Y'all want to clear it up for the people?
Initially, it kind of was like in publishing, but then she got her own moniker, you know, and she became Ironheart shortly after she was introduced. And so in the MCU, she's always been Ironheart. She's never been Iron Man.
One of the very first things we wrote into the show was we call it the walk of shame after she falls in Chicago and she has to get up on the ground. All the people are walking behind her, and we created a whole long, like, it was a very abridged version of what you saw. But yeah, I think everyone's got an assumption about who she is, and I think it really is Riri's way, top to bottom, to say, no, I am my own person. And even, you know, she talks about his immense contributions to the field right away, and there's space for her as well. And I think me as a creative, I live in that but and space too, where I herald all the amazing filmmakers who came before me. I went to USC, literally walked into a Spielberg building every day, and nobody can make the movies that Spielberg can make but him, but nobody can make what we can make but us. So I think it's the same way for Riri, that she knows she's the only one who can make the suit for her.
On paper, it might sound like it's the next Iron Hero, next Iron Man or whatever, but that's not necessarily who she is. You know, she takes a lot of inspiration from Tony Stark and certainly honors him in every way possible, but she's very much her own character. And you know, we introduced her in the MCU in Black Panther 2, Wakanda Forever, where she had a very important but small role in that film. And Ironheart, the series, is our chance to go home with her and see what makes her tick and get a sense of her friends, and she gets to obviously go on this crazy journey. But absolutely, for Riri, she is very much her own character. She's in a lot of ways the opposite of Tony Stark. She doesn't come from a billion-dollar legacy. She has to kind of scrap and be resourceful and make her own way. But that's also what I think makes for a really fun character, just watching an underdog overcome everything she possibly can.
You absolutely right. You, Proximity, Ryan, y'all did this, okay? 5,000% you did it. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to talk to you. I have been dying for this opportunity. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it.
It's an honor to meet you.
It is our joy.
I'll see you soon.
Bye.
Can I just tell y'all how excited I was that Ryan Coogler said it was an honor to meet me? It's been years in the making. I have been trying to interview Ryan Coogler all the way back to Fruitvale Station, okay? I didn't get him for Fruitvale Station. I didn't get him for Black Panther. I didn't get him for Wakanda Forever. I didn't get him for Sinners, but I got him for Ironheart, and hopefully I'll get him even more. Again, you guys, Ironheart is streaming on Disney Plus right now. Do yourselves a favor and check it out. There is a film that is in theaters right now that I saw at the Toronto International Film Festival last fall, and it's called 40 Acres. Excuse me. And it is starring Danielle Deadwyler. Now, Danielle Deadwyler had been Bernice in Piano Lesson last year, a couple of years before that. She was playing the mama of Emmett Till, and now she is this badass named Haley Freeman, who is married to this indigenous man named Michael Gray Eyes, and her daughter Rain. This is a family that are surviving on an isolated farm, 40 acres to be exact. After a series of plagues and wars, Haley, who is a former soldier, and her family make one last stand against a vicious militia that wants to take their land. Now, when we say vicious militia, what we really mean is it's a zombie apocalypse. It's a zombie apocalypse. Black people in a zombie apocalypse movie where, well, I can't tell you what happened, but it's in theaters right now. But I didn't have a chance to talk to Danielle, but I will be talking to Danielle later on this week, and I'll tell you when before we end the podcast. But take a look and listen with this conversation that I had with the director, RT, the young lady that plays Rain, Miss Lena, and RT, the director. Here we go. Hi, y'all.
Hello.
Hi.
What's
So I
going
saw
on?
this. Hey, so I saw this at TIFF, and I remember RT that they were so excited for you, and you were so excited for yourself, and it was so wonderful to see your team rally around you with such positivity. So I just wanted to start out the conversation by recognizing that and saying that to you.
I appreciate that. Yeah, it was a dream. That was just one of those, like, you're a filmmaker in your hometown and you get to go to a hometown festival, and you've been sitting in those theaters, just as a fan, and a film lover for so many times, so many years, and it was a dream. It was a dream night. Yeah. Thank you for that.
Absolutely. So there's a line that Danielle says, and for whatever reason, it struck a chord with me, where she says, "Ain't nobody pushing the seed through the soil." For me, that has multiple meanings other than what the obvious is. It's beyond land. Do you know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So, what does it mean for each one of you on the other side of this project?
I would say just doing your part and making sure that all your boxes are checked, and whether that be, the actual seed through the soil, making sure we have sustenance as a family, we're able to sustain our way of living, and being there for each other, and that kind of seed, and that it's really not just on one person. Like we all have to put in the work to make this life, plausible and real.
I think it's about discipline and work.
Hmm.
Nobody's doing the work but you, and so I think you have to take a kind of an obligation. There's a dignity in doing your job, and I think in a world where there is no world, right? Like there's no structure, there's no society. If you don't make it for yourself, no one else will, and without it, things fall apart.
I think for me, yeah, I mean, it's echoes of what they both said, but it's self-reliance. You know what I mean? And it echoes, I think, throughout both Black and Indigenous communities' histories. There's no help for us. You know what I mean? We have to do for self. We have to figure it out. And obviously for someone like Haley and the family, what they've had to do for themselves, it's all that it's all about that. So I think that's why we had her say it. So.
Let me tell you another reason why I loved 40 Acres. I remember a little while ago, there was a Cheerios commercial that came on in America, and people lost their minds because it was an interracial family. I mean, they snatched the commercial off the air. One of the reasons I love this film is that it is a blended, loving, supportive, caring family that is more indicative of what life is globally. And I loved that you did that with this film. I really did. I wanted to give you your props on that too. I also wanted to talk about seeing that we may be on the verge of an existence that's prevalent to what's happening in the film.
Yeah.
What would each one of you do to survive?
Yes, we live in interesting times. That's for sure. I think the lessons I take away from the project and just my own experience as an Indigenous man is that without community, you are lost. Whatever that means, whether it's family or an organization that you're part of, we are social animals and we're wired, and I think that's the big lesson that Manny, Katayam's character, really brought to the story. That without each other, we are less.
In the event that I needed to survive, I feel I would run to the mountains and try to find my family. In terms of survival skills, I wouldn't put myself high on the.
Come on, yo, you definitely learned. Lena was in there learning them guns, learning how to shoot, And girl, you know, I know you travel, girl. You travel, you
That's
be
true.
hitting the road, so you know how to take care of yourself.
That's
Yeah.
true. Okay. Maybe I feel like I would survive a couple months, maybe a year. But
Yeah,
Bring
I
us home,
mean,
RT.
you know what it is? I mean, the honest truth is like a big part of what when the film script really crystallized was during those pandemic times that we were all in, and I was really struck by like, yo, I can't get fresh fruit from my family. I can't even get, you know, a lot of food from my family, and it was really about, do I know how to produce sustenance for my family? Can I actually grow things out of the ground? Because if I can't go to the grocery store, where are we going to get it? So that's where it really came from for me. So I was blessed that I learned a lot about agricultural practices through this process and learning how to do that. I am nowhere near a green thumb, so I'd have to take up these arms and like then hang out with people who know how to grow food a little bit better. And I could probably throw a couple little tidbits of the stuff that I learned in the research of this, but that would probably be my way. You know, directors, we're not really great survivors. We don't have a lot of skills.
No, you got some skills. You got mad skills, and 40 acres is the proof of it. Thank you, Michael and Lena and RT, for your time. That's my time. I appreciate you so, so much, and congratulations on the film.
Thank you, Carla. Appreciate it.
thank you. Now
Again, you guys, 40 Acres is in theaters right now. And as I promised you, what did I say? I said I was doing something, didn't I? What did I say I was doing? Oh, I'm going to be doing something with, here we go. I'm going to pull it up here now because I forgot to put it up here. But again, while that's popping up, I'm going to tell you about some things that I have been doing, that I'm going to be doing rather, in the next couple of weeks, or some things that I'll be talking about in the next couple of weeks, until this thing pops up that I can show it all to you. So in the next couple of weeks, we're going to be talking. Oh, here we go. It popped up. All right. So this week, if you're in the Los Angeles area, they are doing a special screening of 40 Acres at AMC. It is going to be, let me see, which AMC is it? Let me tell you which one it is. It's going to be at AMC Century City 15 on July 2nd and July 3rd, and there will be a special live in-person Q&A with Danielle Deadweiler, moderated by who? Moi. So if you're in the Los Angeles area, hop on over to the AMC Century City on Wednesday, July 2nd, which is the one I'll be doing. There'll be someone different for the one on July 3rd. In the next couple of weeks, I'll be talking to the cast of Sterling K. Brown's Washington Black, including executive producer and star Sterling K. Brown himself. I'll be speaking with the cast of Zombies 4, which is coming to Disney Plus. I will be reviewing The Old Guard 2, which will be streaming on Netflix. I'll also, in the coming weeks, be talking about da 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 Superman. Yes, baby, I saw it. Can't talk about it, but I saw it, and I can't wait to talk to y'all about it. Ooh. In the meantime, get your Black History and Black Music Month toward the end of a groove on. Check out Paris is Burning. It is a documentary from Johnny Livingston. Again, AMC Century City, July 2nd. Me and Danielle Deadweiler get into it. Check out Ironheart, which is streaming now live on Disney Plus. Also streaming on Hulu is Barbara Walters' Tell Me Everything, a very prolific documentary about the legendary journalist. The legendary chef NOBU has his documentary, which is streaming on Apple TV Plus. And get into Jaws, the 50th anniversary, which is also streaming on Peacock right now. 40 Acres is in theaters. You can check it out. Check out The Five Heartbeats, Prince's Purple Rain, The Black Godfather, and Ray to round out your Black Music Month, and Black Pride. And as usual, check out what we had to say about that Jeff Bezos wedding, honey, over at Fox 11 LA. You can go to my Instagram page and see all about that. Let's check these comments because I saw a couple of them pop up, but I was running my mouth. Why are you giving me flowers, Sarah? Are those flowers for me, or are they flowers for Ryan Coogler and them. It don't matter. You gave flowers. That's all that matter. That you gave some flowers. It's all good in the hood. I ain't mad at you. Yeah, so that does it for this episode of the Curvy Critic with Carla Renata. I'm so glad that y'all popped by, whether it's in real time or after the fact. I really appreciate it. Give me a big thumbs up to let me know that you popped by and hollered at a girl, because, you know, I love it. If you got criticism for me, bring it on, honey. I am always welcome for the criticism and have a very open heart and a very open mind when it comes to those things, because I am not perfection and I can always stand to do better. So having said that, I will see you. Will I see you next week? What is next week? Oh, July 4th weekend. So get into some July 4th movies. Oh, you know what my favorite July 4th movie is? It's called Yankee Doodle Dandy with Jim Cagney. Yankee Doodle Dandy with Jim Cagney. I'll put something up on it on Instagram so that you can get a little more information about it. But okay, until the next time, y'all, love, peace, and hair grease, and I will see you on the flip side next week. Bye.
Hold up. Wait a minute. I wish you love, peace, and hair grease. Love,